Well, when we talk about sound, it's so much more than just literally the tones emanating from the horn. It's all of these other elements of articulation, the nuance, if you will, as you so eloquently said. And something that's occurred to me, particularly these last couple of days, is a wonderful moment of just hearing Jerry Bergonzi. I walked up in my office. Yeah, I walked into my office, which is happening, by the way. I walk into my office, and it was like I left a Jerry Bergonzi record on, because he was emanating from doors. He warmed up the first morning, and to hear him play his horn, some of the other horns that happened to be there, some of the other mouthpieces, and so on. It's whenever you hear a defined player, someone as defined as Jerry, going through these things and being able to articulate the differences of the feeling of it, and then you stand out front and listen as a qualified listener. It is the nuances that change with equipment. It isn't the sound. It was Jerry Bergonzi, there's no doubt about it. But as this mouthpiece, this ligature, this neck, this horn was changed, there were certain aspects that were given up in sake of other aspects of the tone, or articulation, or percussiveness, or width, or directness. All of these things are compensations. There's only so much energy that there is to work with. And I want to relate that to Claudio Zola and possibly Francois as well. I mean, you guys deal in the world of the mechanics, the craftsmanship of the tools of the saxophonist. And I know often students and professionals alike are seeking something perfect, an instrument that will do something for them that they're looking for, and oftentimes students make the mistake of turning that into the idea that there is a perfect saxophone, there is the best mouthpiece. If I spend $2,000 on this slant link 10-star rubber original Florida auto link, my life is going to be fantastic. And if you don't believe me, tune into eBay one day and see what they're going for. It really is about the nuance, and it really is about the fact that all of these things are different. They have their own directions. They compensate this priority for that priority in sound, and ultimately the player has to make a choice as to which way they want to lean. It's not really about defining their sound with equipment, but exaggerating nuances possibly. I don't know. Could you speak to that one?
Trying to speak about that, first of all, I must tell that I feel very lucky I'm doing this work on for jazz, and I'm learning a lot. So thank you to all the players, Chris, Emanuele, that are coming to our factory and playing in front of us, because this was giving us the exact idea of how to develop a sound, how to develop our horn to try to to make it fit to this or the other player. And in fact, I learned a lot about sound just by being close to these musicians. So I agree 100% with Francois and all the others that the sound is coming mostly from the person, and as much the player is able to look inside himself and increase the control of the air column in the throat and possibly even before, as much all the noises, the rumors, the colors inside him come into the horn and make the air column vibrate. So this is what I mean. It's simply great because you grew up with such an idea of sound. Then I met, for instance, Chris, and he was playing in a different way, and he was describing me his sound, and I learned how to listen to his sound, and I understood in a way what was happening inside the horn, and I decided that it was worth, for instance, to do an experiment or a modification, try to aiming to another kind of result for maybe for kind of emphasizes some of the high frequencies on favor of the low frequencies, or vice versa. So again, the horn, the mouthpieces, the reed, everything is very important, but it's just something that should make you feel comfortable for blowing in without having you to fight or struggle. I mean, something which is helping you to express yourself at 100%.
And this is a point to you that's often brought up in these conversations. Well, you know, Charlie Parker would walk in and find a horn from a kid on the street and put a mouthpiece reed, not carrying it, and always sounded like Charlie Parker. And this is absolutely true. The flip side of the coin is we live in a time where not only can you go out and find a Busher 400 to play or try on a Selmer Mark 6 81,000. You can find a gold-plated King Super 20. You can find a Rapone and Tazzani. You can find a new Selmer reference horn. You can find a Yamagisawa or a Yamaha. You have the opportunity to explore. And now, by the way, you can find, after many, many years of searching, a Francois Louis mouthpiece that you can actually purchase and try and play. We're lucky here, I should mention Roberto Romeo from New York is with us and has brought many of Francois' pieces and examples of his ligature. So my point is, as a player, while a lot of guys avoid the idea of investigation of equipment because it can be time consuming, and quite frankly for people that get overly consumed with it, as some of us at this table know, it can be quite distracting, especially for a younger player who's trying to center in on basics of technique and sound. The search for equipment can lead you down strange paths, and suddenly you're thinking more about how big your mouthpiece opening is instead of your breast support, your long tones, and the elements of color. But again, the other side of that is, since all of these things are available, it is part of the research of being a saxophone player to give yourself the opportunity to investigate the options and the possibilities so that, as Claudio so well stated, you can play creatively at 100% and that the equipment is working for you, for your body, and giving you the ease of playing that you really need to be at your best as a creative artist.
And Chris, I found that the older I got, then the smaller mouthpiece I needed. When I was 20 years old, man, I wanted the biggest opening that you could get and the hardest reed. But as I got older, so I think that's one of the things that will happen as you go along and get a little older.
Because as your body changes, your equipment will need to change as well.
Yeah, but maybe I can add a few things to what has been told. So it was nice to hear Claudio thanks all the musicians. I have to say the same thing. I got to learn my job from the musician. Till the last year, I only made custom-made mouthpieces, handmade, together with the musician, because I really had this thought that if a mouthpiece is good for one person, it's probably not good for anybody else. So it's true and not true, because we have to be realistic. I mean, if you want to buy a mouthpiece someday, not everybody can travel to my place, and I don't have so much time that I could spend so long with many players. By the way, I learned a lot from the demand of the saxophonist, because sometimes my imagination of sound is different sometimes all the time is different than anybody else's imagination. So they come with questions. And I've always been passionated by physics and analyze, and since I was a kid, I built myself a little radio and did all my work on my bicycle and things by myself. So I'm still that way. And if they came with a question, as soon as they are honest, because sometimes there are also people that just want to ask you the impossible question. But if they have their question for themselves and is an honest question, I'm sure there is an answer. So I'm going to be looking for the answer. And from that, I realized that all the differences, most of the thing, anyhow, we can say one thing. The only thing is time. And that's something that Jerry also said. You know, a sound is nothing else than a micro rhythm cell. Is the repetition of downbeat and upbeat at higher frequencies. By being produced at high frequencies, it produces sounds. Sounds just mean that led through the hair comes through your ear and make a percussion on, I don't know, you name it, the blade in the ear, tampon in French. What's the word for that?
The name of the
eardrum?
No, the skin in the ear, on with the hammer hit.
The eardrums.
Eardrum, okay. So it's a drum. instead of being G, G, G. This is so fast that it is just have this definition of sound. You know, I talked about acoustic waves yesterday. What is an acoustic wave is, at first, is a wave that has a frequency that is perceptible by the eardrum. But it's just time. It's just, you know, repetition of time, and it's organization of time, but reduced to very, very small cells. So most of the question, and that was the nice thing of the players, they were about time, not exactly about sound. And one of these elements is this particular resistance that make you able to control your time. You know, if you have a too easy setup, you blow and the sound is gone. You can't go back and get your sound back. You know, you can try to run after your sound, come back. It's not the sound I wanted. It's gone. It's finished. It's in the air. So you have to be able to control that before you project your sound. And that's why some resistance and some delay from the moment you push the air and that the sounds come out will give you this possibility of corrections. If you have that, then anticipate is easy. You just have to know how much. Also, there is this association of the movement of the fingers and the time of reaction with the hair. Everybody has a different connection. You know, some people, they have, I don't know for what reason, they have like quick muscular response. It goes faster than other people. So they need a different delay here to fit their fingers. And I got to learn all those elements. So while making my mouthpieces are more available. Of course, I did it according to most of the expectations I got to know from the musicians. And that's why every tip opening is a different type of facing that is, I would say, in perfect balance. For people that likes to play small mouthpiece, generally, they don't want too much resistance. They want a little faster response. So it's going to be like that. For people that likes bigger mouthpiece, most of the time, they are playing bigger mouthpiece to get more delay without even knowing it for themselves. So all those elements are important.
If I could add something, when I look for a mouthpiece or a horn, particularly a mouthpiece, the first thing that I'm looking for is the way it plays time. I mean, if it sounds great, that's wonderful, but if I can't play, like you said, the resistance, if the note doesn't come out exactly where I want it to come out, I mean, I know exactly is even relative, but kind of, so comfortably so I can play the time the way I hear it. I can't play the mouthpiece, even if the sound of the mouthpiece is spectacular. So that's the first thing I look for, and I think like time is king and sound is queen. They just go together, you know. It's a match, a marriage made in heaven to get both happening in the right the right way. But that being said, I think that one man's poison is another man's medicine. One guy likes to do it this way, the other guy likes to do it this way. One guy takes a little bit of mouthpiece, plays this, and that works for him, and he learned how to get his sound that way. And the other guy learned a completely different way. I often wonder if like somebody like Joe Henderson, I heard that he just played the mouthpiece that came with a horn. What if a 10-link came with a horn? What would Joe have sounded like? Or what would Sonny have sounded like if he said, oh man, I'm just going to stick with a D. Selmer, you know? They probably would have sounded equally as great, but in a completely different way.
And I think also that the setup obviously push you to play in a different way every time you try a different setup. Of course, if I try the Joe Anderson setup, it will be more easy for me trying to play through this way, because it's so natural. Immediately you can hear something in the sound, and it became easy for you to play kind of Johansson licks or this kind of stuff. But after a while, you soon realized, I sure realized that it should be impossible for me to play this setup, with a small mouthpiece and a soft reed. For me, it should be impossible. So maybe Piero wanted to say something about.
Scusate se, pur non essendo un musicista, voglio parlare di musica, voglio dire che cos'è per me il suono in fotografia. C'è un grandissimo fotografo italiano che si chiama Mario Giacomelli. Lui in realtà è un tipografo.
He was just trying to say what's for him the sound on photography discipline. Talking about a very famous Italian photographer called
Mario
Giacomelli, and actually he's a
tipografo.
He owns a printing company.
E i tipografi ragionano in termini di colori che per me significano note, no? Ragionano con due colori, il bianco e il nero.
Normally these guys, because of their work, they think with colors that for Piero are notes, and normally they work considering two colors, white and black.
E questo tipografo che ha esposto in tutto il mondo, che ha delle foto di grande impatto emotivo, ha elaborato un sistema suo personale di stampare le fotografie col quale utilizzava soltanto questi due colori, il bianco e il nero. Questi due toni usati da lui producono nelle foto, quando lo si guarda, un armonico, perché sono sempre gli stessi due toni, eppure usati nella maniera opportuna vibrano in ogni foto in modo diverso, e questo per me significa il suono in fotografia. Sorry.
So, trying to translate that. Pierre is saying that this Giacomelli has developed a way of printing his image, and by the way, he was having exhibitions all around in the world using a very special system, which is, I don't know exactly in detail, but using white, only white and black. And it's kind of like for him that this white and black together are like an harmonic in music. And every time this harmonic is used in different ways to communicate different emotions and different things,
Yeah. Sì, giusto. È proprio questo, cioè questo per me è il parallelismo tra fotografia e musica.
End up saying that in fact this is the parallelism between music and photography.
E suono e fotografia.
Sound.
In fact,
Sound and photography.
the Detroit Torino project, DetroitTorinoJazz.com is our website. As a discussion, this subject was the basis of the grant. It's somewhat of a medical term and an artistic term called synesthesia. Synesthesia is the concept of people who see sound and hear color. And actually some people have a medical issue that surrounds this concept, but it's also used in art to describe impressionistic crossover between media, where visual images impact sound and sound impacts visual images, which is the basis of our project, and it's explained with several references on the Detroit Torino website, DetroitTorinoJazz.com, and the references you can follow to read some very interesting coverage of this topic of synesthesia, which is a fascinating concept.